Alrighty. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll give a couple of minutes for people to come in and join the live. If you know anybody that is down in the south that is dealing with these storms today, make sure you send them the link to this live if they may not know about it. We're always going to be doing these kinds of updates when we do have a forecast like this, especially so that we can get the latest information to you about the severe weather event. So also download the Weather and Radar app if you haven't already. And we're going to go through the tools that you can use for the severe weather situation. Alrighty. So I'm Weather and Radar Meteorologist Becca Parker. We're going to be going over the severe weather outbreak that's happening across the south today, as you can see on the screen that is behind me. Let's play this here and show you what it looks like. So you're right now looking at our weather radar. What this shows is the temperatures, the sunlight, daylight. We also have heavy rainfall and lightning. Those little orange and yellow dots that you're seeing is the lightning within the storms. So as you can see, we've got a lot going on here across the south from the lower Mississippi Valley into the southeast. Let me scooch this over just a little bit. There we go here. And we've already had a lot go on today. We have more than 70 severe weather reports that have been sent into the National Weather Service. Those all include hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes. And we've already been seeing a lot of that activity today, and we're going to continue to see that through this evening and tonight. So before we get started, just a couple housekeeping things. If you have any questions, and be sure to ask them. It's likely that if you have a question, someone else has the exact same question, and we want to make sure we're answering everybody's questions that they have about the situation. This can be a pretty dangerous situation for many. It's already been that throughout the day, and it's going to continue to be that way through this evening, especially if you are in these areas that are going to be hit by the storms. So I will be checking periodically to answer questions, and we're going to get started. I'll show you the tools that you can use as well. Alrighty. So like I said before, this is the weather radar behind me. You can follow along on your Weather and Radar app. And what we are looking at right now is the severe weather that's going on across the south today. Now, what is causing this is a couple of things. So we can take a look at one of the parameters that is really giving this a lot of energy today, and that is the heat that is going on across the south. Now, right here, you see our temperature radar. This is a great tool to use to see just not only how hot or cold it is, but to see what these storms are feeding off of. And part of that is the heat. And there's plenty of heat that is coming up from the south that is being pulled in by a low pressure trough and is being pulled in out of the Gulf of Mexico. So that also includes a lot of moisture. When you have a lot of heat and moisture put together, you create a really great environment for storms to feed off of, and that's what's going on today. We are seeing temperatures in the 90s across the lower Mississippi Valley into the southeast. Places like in northern Georgia here and northern Alabama are already seeing temperatures in the 70s. This is also due to the rainfall they've already seen today. The storms that have come through has cooled things down. So you'll notice that too as the severe weather event does continue. Temperatures will be dropping later this evening as the storms do move through. But right now we've got plenty of energy still across the lower Mississippi Valley, which is where we're really going to keep an eye on. And I'll talk about that more here in a moment. Now I mentioned all of that southerly flow out of the Gulf of Mexico. So you can take a look at the wind radar, which I'm pulling up right now, to see where these winds are coming out of. And you actually see all of these winds, these white streamlines here are coming out of the south in the Gulf of Mexico here, bringing all of this warm water-laden air into the southern U.S., helping to feed those storms. And this area has been, no stranger to stormy weather this week. There's been a stationary front that has been settled right across the south, and they've been seeing heavy rain, thunderstorms, and today just, a lot more severe weather. So it's been a very active week for this area across the southern U.S., and we're going to continue to see that this evening. So let's get into what we're really looking at. I'm going to bring up the Storm Prediction Center, what that forecast is looking like. Alrighty, make sure we're good on questions. Perfect. Alrighty, so this is the Storm Prediction Center from the National Weather Service. Today we are looking at as much as a moderate risk for severe weather. The moderate risk for severe weather is a level 4 out of 5 on the severity scale. So this is a pretty big situation that we have going on here across the south. And we're taking a look at the areas from northeastern Louisiana all the way into southwestern Georgia for that moderate risk. So that's where they've been seeing a lot of the heavy rainfall, a lot of very severe storms. A lot of the tornado activity has been in southwest Georgia. for today. So that's really taking advantage of all the energy that is down there. So some of the hazards that are coming from this severe weather situation, even extending out into the marginal risk, where you're going to see isolated thunderstorms, but the big stuff is really happening, and your slight risk on into that marginal or moderate risk. So hazards that are coming from this. There is a tornado risk. As I said before, we've already seen tornado activity today, but that continues to be seen across the southern U.S. here into southern Alabama and southwestern Georgia, where there's even a hatched risk for tornadoes. And what that means is there is an extra probability for EF2 or greater tornadoes of that strength. So we already, like I've said, we've already seen that today. That has been going on, and that chance still does exist in this area. So tornadoes is one of the risks that we are taking a look at for the severe weather event and continuing to see tonight. Hail is another big threat. I was looking at the reports from the Storm Prediction Center and from the National Weather Service earlier today, and there has already been hail sizes 2.5 inches on up, even a 5-inch hail report from Brooksville, Mississippi today. So think 5 inches diameter of hail. We've got some really juicy environment to create that kind of hail and have the winds be able to bring all of that moisture on up, freeze it, and have it keep being tossed up into the atmosphere within these storm systems. That shows how strong these storms are, the hail size. So we are seeing very large hail from this storm, and we're going to continue to see that throughout the evening, especially across northeastern Texas and into southwestern Georgia here. I'm just going to double check for any technical issues. Perfect. Alrighty. So yes, hail, tornadoes and hail. We got those threats going on today. Now, finally, we're going to be taking a look at the larger hazard that is coming from this storm system. So you'll see we got a bright pink blob here across the south. This is the damaging wind threat from this storm system. Now, I mentioned earlier how we have all these hazards that are coming from this storm system. Another hazard that is possible is the damaging winds greater than 80 miles an hour, even 90 mile an hour winds, greater than that as these storms do move through. Now, with that comes the winds coming at a straight line. Now, what that brings is a lot of damage, unfortunately, for areas that are receiving 80 to 90, even 90 on up mile per hour winds. If you got those straight line winds coming through, it can cause a lot of damage in areas, especially if you've got any items that are outside that can be quickly picked up and then tossed about for that area. Unfortunately, semis or higher profile vehicles can be knocked over. So this is going to be a dangerous setup later this evening, especially when we're taking a look at central Mississippi for an area where we are seeing some developing storms that are going to be capable of producing those 80, 90, even 90 plus mile per hour winds from these storms. So let's look at rainfall as well. Let me bring that up. I'm going to bring up the Weather Prediction Center. So we're looking at a lot of rainfall, and like I said earlier, this area has been seeing a lot of rain throughout the week, and this is just adding to it, right? I said we have a stationary front that has been sitting here throughout the week, taking advantage of all of that water-laden warm air across the south, and it's just been sitting there. So a lot of areas have seen local amounts up to 5, even more inches of rain this week already, and this storm system is bringing even more than that today. So we are seeing a flood watch across the areas into the southern U.S. and to the southeast. Those are already issued for rains for today, up to 7 inches of rain from these storms as they take advantage of all that water-laden air. So we are seeing that today. So in addition to the tornado threat, the damaging wind threat and hail threat, we are seeing the flooding rains in addition to that. So a lot to keep an eye out for. And you can use your Weather and Radar app to get alerts for things like severe thunderstorms. When they are in your area, you can get an alert for the possibility of severe thunderstorms within 36 hours of the event, so you can be well prepared and know when those are coming. Same thing for rainfall. We have rainfall alerts that go out as well and can tell you how much rain is going to be predicted for your area that you can keep an eye out for. Now, when you come to a flooded roadway, it's best to just turn around, don't drown. High-profile vehicles, those are really, they can have even a hard time making it through flooded roadways as well. So it's better to just turn around, don't drown. Even just a few inches of water can mean trouble, unfortunately, for anyone walking through or driving through these floodwaters. Alrighty. let's take a look at the timing for these storms as well. As I've said, we've already seen them go on, so we're going to bring up the weather radar again. Alrighty, let me double check for questions here. Perfect. All right. So for timing wise, as you can see, we have a lot of severe weather going on across the South right now, but we're going to take a look at what the today looks like, which is going to be a couple hours from now, starting around 7 o'clock Central Time. We still see storm activity going on here across the southern U.S., and this is going to be happening through the evening hours. Now, an area that we're really going to be paying attention to is into the lower Mississippi Valley, where there is a potentially dangerous situation, particularly dangerous situation, unfolding thanks to the storms that are coming through. Now, what that means is storms that are capable of producing those 80 to 90 mile per hour winds, even higher than that, like I mentioned earlier. And that causes a lot of damage for an area and can be life-threatening, especially if they produce hail and tornadoes all within that. So we are taking a look at that throughout the evening as these storms do move through. Now, I'm going to show what this looks like right now as far as what we're keeping an eye out for. So this particularly dangerous situation, severe thunderstorm watch, is in effect until 8 p.m. local time in the lower Mississippi Valley. We are watching these storms move through, and they're going to be moving through very quickly as they go about the evening. So you can see here, this is about 6 o'clock this evening, so getting into the dinner time hours, even afternoon commute. If you are commuting this afternoon, have at least 3 ways to receive a weather warning. Have your notifications switched on in the app as well, so you can be alerted if there are severe thunderstorms in your area, especially for a situation like this. You want to be well informed and be able to tell others about it that are in your area as well. And so if you are commuting, this may be a time to give yourself more time so that you can actually get to your location safely after work, after school, or anything like that. I'm going to double check for questions. Alrighty. So like I said, we are taking a look at this area right here across the lower Mississippi Valley for these storms. So something you want to keep an eye on as well is for hail. And you can do that right on the rain radar on your tool. You can follow along in your app. And what that tells us within the rain radar, not only is it telling you just how strong and how heavy the rainfall is from these storms, but as well as showing hail. And that's these bright pink areas inside these storm cells for the rain radar. You can see that the storms later on are capable of producing hail and likely will, as the forecast says here on the rain radar. And this is something you want to keep away from, and have your severe thunderstorm alerts switched on. Have at least 3 ways to receive those severe weather alerts. All right. Let me make sure I'm covering what I need to cover. Okay. Alrighty. So to wrap it up, we are taking a look at the tornado chances, the damaging wind chances, hail, and flooding rains from all of this severe weather event. We want to keep an eye on your weather radar this evening, have at least 3 ways to receive those weather warnings throughout the evening, especially as we see these storms move through. Now let's take a look at just at least for the rest of this evening as we go about this storm system. So we could see a line of severe storms really set up overnight, unfortunately, across the southeast. So let's move forward in time here through the evening hours. This is getting close to midnight for these severe storms. So we can see that a little bit more activity is happening even throughout the night. So when we have nocturnal thunderstorms like this is where you really want to make sure you have those 3 ways to receive a weather warning, so that you know, especially you have your alerts volume switched on and up so you can hear it while you are asleep for those nocturnal thunderstorms. So we are looking at severe thunderstorms really all through tonight, and general thunderstorms as well, all through tonight and into early tomorrow morning. So any commuters for the morning are going to need to be also looking at the weather radar, even for the same event. Alrighty. If we don't have any questions right now, I'm going to be checking them throughout the evening as we go about the severe weather event. We're going to be having updates on our live blog on the app. You can check that out. It's going to be right at the top of your app, and you'll be able to find all those updates as well on our social media pages. So I put the link to download the app right at the top comment. If you have any questions at all, please let us know. We'll be taking your questions all throughout this event. I'm Weather and Radar Meteorologist Becca Parker. Thank you very much.